I had this sketch that I did a few years ago on the back of a photocopy, and I keep it because I don't know, I liked it, and in some way I thought that one day or another I wanted to evolve this design. And during the lockdown, I took the time to do that, to develop this design. I was interested more in the environment than on the car, but also because I always had a limitation. I had a few problems with the environment. Even when I was in school, I was quite good with characters and cards and buildings and stuff like that. Well, maybe not so good with buildings, but I always had a few problems with the environment because it's so difficult to create something from scratch. Of course, you always need a few images, references, and stuff like that, because of course nature is a better artist than me for sure. But after a while, I lost focus on the environment and work more on the car. The idea was, while I was working, I thought, okay, it will be a car driving toward this tunnel. But after a while, I thought, what if is like a racing car, just doing a little bit of drift, because of course I thought about a rally car drifting on the curve before getting to the tunnel. And so I thought, well, I need a cool car, so what could I use? And I thought about the Lancia Stratos. I was fascinated by that car when I was a kid. Really, it looked almost like a spaceship to me when I was a kid, when I was a really young kid. And so I thought, well, I will work on the Lancia Stratos, and I chose the Alitalia version because I like that kind of design. I like the colors, or probably just something that was impressed in my mind when I was a kid, because of course this car won 3 or 4 championships during the 70s. And so, and anyway, that car still looks awesome today. And anyway, of course, at the start I started with the background, with the environment. I work a little bit, and there was well, I have to admit that at some point during the design, it could be almost ready, but probably I overworked a little bit, and I didn't get into the details of the design because I wanted to keep it fresh, almost like it was a sketch. I didn't want to be too much precise, so I didn't spend too much time. But maybe this goes in contrast with the car, because the car will be very detailed. But anyway, who cares? That's what I wanted to do. And by the way, it wasn't for money, it wasn't for a job, it was just for my pleasure. Here you can see when I drew the rocks, I took a picture of rocks, and then I placed over my design using the overlay method on the layer, just to give it a little bit more of texture. This is something that not always, but I do often, because well, you can do something like that in when you work in digital. I don't like the idea of using just picture. You could do a photo bashing and make your life easier, but it would look like I don't know, like a collage, even if you do it really well. So it saves time, but I didn't want to do something like that. I just wanted to have my design and just give a little bit of texture. Then, starting from my sketch, I started drawing the Stratos, but I realized immediately that the proportion was off. As you can see, it's too narrow, too tall, so I had to work a little bit. And then I decided to take the picture and use the picture as a reference for the dimension. You will see later. Of course, here I'm still working, still sketching, but yeah, I had to work on the proportion. So as you can see, I used this design that it was also useful to see how another artist was working with the Stratos. Then I decided to use the picture, the real one, to have the proportion right. Maybe not so right, because of course the perspective is different, but anyway, having a reference, because if you do something wrong on a car, it goes, everything is off. It's almost like painting a portrait of a person. If there's something off, like the position of the eye, or the shape of the eye, or the nose, or something like that, it becomes a complete different person. And with the car, especially with the car, because it's something really precise, if you do something like that with a car, it's exactly the same. You get a complete different car. Maybe you can understand what kind of car is if you're passionate about cars, but of course there's something off. So I decided to use the picture to get the right proportion of my car. And of course I didn't want to trace the car. I wanted to do my design. But anyway, as I told you, I just needed to have the right proportion. After that, of course, I decided, because I'm able to work also with vector graphics, so I decided to transfer this sketch, this quick sketch, on Illustrator, or maybe freehand, I don't remember. Well, we will see soon again. Oh yeah, I decided to use freehand. To use freehand is a really old vector graphic software from Macromedia. I was used to work with freehand quite often when I was an illustrator, and I was working in publishing and advertising. And so I like Adobe Illustrator, but not so much. I think that Macromedia Freehand is still far better than Illustrator. And to me it's really strange that Adobe got freehand, and instead of developing, they just killed the project in favor of Adobe Illustrator. That to me is not as good as freehand. So I work with freehand in an emulation of an old operating system from this Mac OS 10.6.8 or something like that. Well, Snow Leopard. And so I used the emulation to work with freehand. And then when I'm happy with whatever I do in freehand, I just export my project and import in Adobe Illustrator, and then maybe I do some little adjustment or stuff like that, and then I copy the vector graphic and I import that vector graphic in my Photoshop design. And so I did this because I wanted to be precise. As I told you, I started with the idea of doing something that had to look like a quick sketch, but after a while I decided to get into details, because at the end of the day I wanted to do something really precise. And of course I had the time, because during the lockdown I didn't have clients or tattoos to work on, so it was free time. So I tried to enjoy that time doing something that I liked, and I enjoyed this this design. And I also learned a lot. Well, maybe not a lot, but anyway, it was good practicing on something that I didn't do for a long time. I don't remember the last time that I worked on a car. There was a couple of things that I always loved to design when I was in school and even after school, and was girls and cars. Well, it's quite normal. It's nothing exceptional. It's not like I don't know, spaceship. I always loved sci-fi, but I really enjoyed when I was designing cars and girls. And it's something that I don't do very often, especially since I'm doing tattoos, because of course about girls maybe I could do something more, it depends, but I don't think that portraits or humans on humans is quite cool, because of course the skin will change, the shape of a body will change. It's not like painting on a piece of paper. Everything you do on a piece of paper, on a print, on a canvas, it will stay the same forever. But when you do a portrait or a human figure or something so precise like a car, apart the fact that it's not something that you do very often. I think in my career as a tattoo artist, I never tattooed a car. But anyway, they stay the same on a piece of paper or on a canvas, but on the body of a person, probably, well, not probably, for sure, the skin will change, the body will change, and if you distort the body, the surface where a painting is, of course you distort also the subject. So I don't know, I can't imagine how the perfect portrait that you did today will be in 10 years time, when probably the girl or the guy that had that tattoo will lose or gain weight, the skin will start to crawl. Well, anyway, so it's something that I'm not doing very often, so I like to work on this car, because I don't know when I will get the chance to do something like that, when the lockdown will be terminated and we can go back to work. And as you've seen before, I didn't draw the logos, of course, because I thought, well, it's quite useless that I spend so much time to recreate the Lancia and the Alitalia logo when you can find them online. And so I just downloaded the logos, and then I distorted them to fit the spoiler in the back of the car. And of course I had to make a little changes on the car, because of course one thing is doing something perfectly in perspective, and another thing is when you need to match visual. So for instance, the exhaust, I had to change them because the perspective was right at the start, but it looked a little bit off, because of course you have to trust perspective, the right construction of a design. But no matter how perfect the perspective are, you need to trust your eye. And when you see something that's off, I don't care if to make it right I have to bend the perspective rules to my needs, because of course I'm doing an artistic job, so I don't care if I need to work, even if it's not perfect about the perspective. I don't care. it needs to be perfect to the eye, not to the perspective. And of course you need the perspective anyway, no doubt about that. And about the color, it was a little bit difficult because I thought, okay, the white is pretty easy to do, but well, not really, because I wanted to recreate a situation like evening when the sun is down, and anyway I was apart from that, it is raining, so there are clouds, there's not so much light, the environment is quite dark, but all the picture that I found was taken with flash, because of course during the time the photographic machine, they was well probably even today to take a picture during the night you need the flash, you need some light. So I had a little bit of problem to create the situation. I wanted to create the situation in which you're looking at something in real life with your own eye. So it was a little bit difficult because of course it couldn't be white as you can see the picture I used as references. So for the lighter part, I used the lighter part from the sky, because of course the car is metal, and so it reflects the environment, the light and stuff like that. But it couldn't be totally white. So as I told you, I used the gray in the dark areas, and also to create a contrast with the light, because of course during the night even the whitest car in the world can you don't see it white, you know it's white, but you cannot see the white. So it reflects the light, and you can see I used a little bit of white just on the outline in some places, just to make the car pop up from the environment. But there is a very few white here and there. As I told you, the lighter part, for the lighter part I used the light from the sky. So, and it was yeah, I told you, a little bit tricky to find the right gray tone to make it right, to have the car that looks like a white car, of course with all the decals and so on. So it was a little bit tricky. And to help myself, I used the vector graphic that I created in freehand and then modified in Adobe Illustrator, to use the magic wand tool to create the areas and then color the area by area. And so it was something that I usually do with the lasso tool, but in this case I could use the area that I defined with in the vector graphics, and it made my life a little bit easier. And so yeah, it's a trick, if you're interested, you can use. It was also a little bit tricky to find the right font for the license plate. That was a little bit tricky, I have to admit, because there wasn't the right font, so I had to find something that it was close to the font that it was on the license plate from the time. So yeah, a little bit tricky, man, but nothing so difficult. And it was also cool. Probably the whiter thing that there is in the painting is the license plate, because when I placed the white font on the license plate, I realized that it was perfect, because of course it's a reflecting painting to make it readable from far away. So as you can see, the idea of the light on the license plate, it's perfect, immediate. I didn't have to do anything to change that, just pure white. and so that was easy. So if you want to paint, well, probably you already know. I just realized that while I was working, because I have to admit I never, or at least I don't remember I ever designed a car during night. So this was my first attempt, and I'm pretty satisfied with this. And also I was also experimenting with the paintings, because not the paintings, the brushes, because of course I have tons of brushes. You can find really thousands of brushes online, and so I had a few brushes that I wanted to try. So probably I don't even know if it's pretty clear at this speed, but during the drawing I was losing a lot of time just experimenting. I also like the reflection of this red part on the body of the car. And of course, about the decals, I did the same thing that I did with all the decals apart from the Alitalia decals, the red and green. I just downloaded Michelin and Alitalia and all the rest, just downloaded and placed them, just modified with the warp tool, and that was enough. And also I worked a little bit on the extrusion of the license plate. So yeah, it was fun. It was really fun working on this. And I don't know, maybe, who knows, maybe on ArtStation I'm selling this the print of this work and other prints. Probably some car fan or something that like this car or the design would be interested in getting this design. And I have to admit, well, I think every artist, when a work is finished, they look at their work and think, oh, there's still a lot to do, a lot I can fix and can. But as Leonardo da Vinci used to say, there's no artwork that is finished, it's just abandoned. It's just because of course with the art you never stop. You could go on over and over and over on the same painting. There will be always something that can be fixed. It's impossible to make the perfect painting. Probably Leonardo, he could look at the Gioconda and think, oh, there's still so much to do on this painting, for sure. Yeah, I really like the idea of Leonardo da Vinci that a painting is never finished, it's just abandoned. And this is the same. There's a lot of things that I could fix, but you just after a while you just get probably a little bit bored, or at least you reach a level of details that you like and you think, okay, that's enough, that's good enough. Even if well, probably I could have worked a little bit more on the background to make it a little more defined, but anyway, who cares? The focal point of my design is the car. And so when you work on something, you also need to find what's the focus of your painting, because if you do everything full of details, perfectly detailed, and everything in perfect focus, you take away the eye from the focal point. So I think it's a good design, and at the end I think I did a good job. It could be a cool poster on the bedroom of a young kid of the 70s that probably loved the idea of having this car in action. And here I also had the idea to make the trace of the lights, but I just ended with this. So this is the final product. I hope you enjoy this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell, and see you soon.